Hi everyone, welcome back. So today we are going to talk about another one of the most important subject, controls or safeguards and control categories. So what are controls or cybersecurity controls or information security controls, and what are their different categories? Now, if you are pursuing any cybersecurity certification or even if you are in a day job, controls are something you will be dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So you will be implementing controls or you will be assessing the controls, but if you don't know controls in depth, it may be difficult to do your day-to-day job with the accuracy that you expect, or with the proficiency that you expect. Control is something that protects us against any threat, or control is something that removes or reduces a threat or a vulnerability. So, if a tool or technology is protecting you against some threat or removes or reduces the vulnerability or the threat, it is called as control. Another definition of control is a countermeasure or safeguard designed to protect CIA of information assets. Now, what is CIA? If you want to know about confidentiality, integrity, and availability, or CIA triad, I have another video posted on it. I'll provide the link in the below description. In a nutshell, if I combine all these definitions, a control is something that protects us against a threat, it removes or reduces a vulnerability or a threat, or a control is a countermeasure or safeguard which is designed to protect CIA of information assets. Before we understand what control is, let's understand why controls are there. What is the objective of having a control? So controls are there to protect the information assets. So there are two key terms. Control protects the information asset. So when I say information asset, it could be your data, application, network, any other information system, your operating system. So we deploy controls to protect those information assets. Now let us understand controls with a very simple example. Say there is this house. Now if there are some valuables stored in this house, how will you protect it? You will probably have some fences, you will have a door to protect those, you may have installed CCTV camera or the locks. So basically, if there are any assets in this house, you are implementing these tools and technologies and resources to protect those assets, right? And that's what we call as control. So in this example, fences, doors, CCTV, locks are example of some physical controls. Now, as I said, anything that protects against a threat is a control. So here, fences, doors, CCTV, locks are trying to protect your assets. So those are controls. In the sense of information security or information technology, encryption protects your data and firewalls protect your network, antivirus protect your data and your network. So these are example of technology controls or technical controls. So I hope you understood the basic definition of the control. Now, what are the different types of controls that we see on day-to-day basis? So generally we divide controls into two types: safeguards and countermeasures. So you will often find people who are using these terms interchangeably, and this is okay. Sometimes they may call it safeguard, countermeasure. So you don't need to fight with anybody in terms of definition, but you may want to know the fundamental difference, especially from an exam perspective. So if you are preparing for CISSP, CISM, CISA, or any other cybersecurity certification, it is good to know what are safeguards and what are countermeasures. So safeguard, that something that defends us. So this is an example of defensive security. Now countermeasures, something that you can use to counter a threat. So the example is offensive security. So when we talk about safeguards, we are talking about defensive security measures. And when we talk about offensive security, we are talking about countermeasures. So in simple words, safeguard are protective or proactive in nature or preventative, and countermeasures are reactive controls. So for example, fences, locks, doors, they protect your information assets from any threats, right? So those are protective or preventive controls, and that's why those are safeguards, considered as safeguards. On the other hand, your man trap or your investigations or reviews are some countermeasures. So, for example, there was an incident that took place in your company, some attack happened, right? Now you are going to investigate or review the logs. So something has already happened, and now you are taking an action, offensive way of doing things. So you are taking some measures in order to identify why that attack happened, and that's where investigations and reviews become your countermeasures. uh, what are the safeguards? So let's say if there could have been some antiviruses installed, so those antiviruses will not let any virus come inside. So that is working as a protective measure. So that becomes your safeguard. So I hope you have understood the basic difference between safeguard and countermeasures by far. Now, control categories. So, how controls can be implemented? So, we understood what are controls, what are safeguards, what are countermeasures. How controls can be implemented? What are those ways? So, let's try to understand that. So, controls can be implemented in three ways: physical controls, we talked about it briefly, then logical controls, and administrative controls. So physical controls comes with some physical mechanism. For example, your doors, locks, CCTV, laptop locks, or alarms are examples of physical control. Simple, right? No rocket science here. Now, what are logical controls or technical controls? So these are generally related to hardware or software controls, and generally they use technology. So example is your passwords, PIN, firewalls, encryption, IDS and IPS, intrusion detection system, and intrusion prevention system are example of some technical or logical controls, right? And finally, third type is administrative controls. Controls that are related to administration, management, for example, policies and procedures. So those are your administrative controls or management controls. Uh, your policies, procedures, trainings, reporting, something that helps you administer your control environment are called as administrative controls. So when we talk about control categories, controls could be physical, logical, technical, or administrative controls. Now, if you want to understand different types of controls, there is another video that I have created, and you can have a look at that. And I'm hopeful you will have good understanding of various control categories and control types. And when I say control types, I'm talking about preventive, detective, deterrent, and compensatory controls, which we will discuss in the next lesson. By then, thank you so much. You can scan this QR code to connect with me on the LinkedIn, and see you in the next video. Thank you.